Science Lens! It's me, Lara. Now I stream free live science lessons online. This is not the science lesson. This is the Lego Story Show. There's no printouts for this. I'm not going to ask you many questions. We're just going to chat about a thing that I learned about this week, and then we'll do Lego Story Show at the end. You want a little glimpse of the Lego Story Show? A warning, a little warning about Lego Story Show. I know that for a lot of you, I'm going to be ruining your favourite film. Sorry about that. It takes me ages to write the Lego Story Show script, and by the time I'd written it, I was like, I hope they're not going to be really angry. Anyway, we'll get to that at the end. So, let's just talk about circus music, first of all. If I say to you circus music, what do you start singing? Go on. Are you doing it? Think of circus music. What are you humming? You're almost certainly, if you're humming anything, humming Entrance of the Gladiators by a famous musician called Julius Fučík. He was from, he was Czech at the time. Look at him here with his fabulous moustache. When he first wrote this tune, he called it Grande Marche Chromatique because it uses the chromatic scale. So you've got it, haven't you? It's that. That was actually when he wrote it. He was he'd been in the military and he wrote music for military bands. He actually wrote it to be like a serious marching piece. I can't, anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. But I thought, let's talk about what it actually means, Le Grande Marche Chromatique. That's French, isn't it? He was Czech. But anyway, most tunes have a tone gap between most of their notes. So one tone is 2 keys on a keyboard. So my keyboard's out of battery, so I'm going to have to use this and my brain, so forgive me, but it's like do, 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 do. That sort of sounds, certainly if you're in the Western world like me, that sounds like a kind of typical scale, doesn't it? Do, 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 do. But that's actually leaving a note gap most of the time. A chromatic scale has a semitone gap, so it uses all the notes. So it's like and that's what the Grande Marche Chromatique does. Look, here it is. Isn't this brilliant? I've forgotten how it starts with that bum ba ba bum ba ba bum, and then some other instruments, violins go dum da da dum da da dum. So that's just one note up, so that's semitone. Dum da da dum da da and then it kicks in with the so yeah, like I say, actually written as a sort of slower marching piece for serious bands, and then it got republished a little bit later on, designed to be played faster as what's called a screamer. I didn't know that this was a word. I'm so happy with this. A screamer. I think it's a kind of duck as well, isn't it? But in music, a screamer is a type of music that is designed to whip crowds up into a frenzy. So the reason we're doing a Lego Story Show about the circus is because the circus is in town in York, where I am. Paulo's Circus is in town, and I went to see it last week, and it was amazing. But I was noticing how important the music was. So obviously, watching like an acrobat is fantastic anyway, but it's so much better if you've got music sort of telling you that it's really exciting. So that's what a screamer is. They were really important in sort of 1800s to sort of whip up big crowds of people into a frenzy. And I've put here, can you sing it? Just take a couple of seconds to try and sing the circus theme tune in a way that makes it sound serious. Try and imagine marching along to it. Can you make it actually sound like a proper marching tune? I just hear clowns. I don't know about you. You can only hear clowns. Right, so that's the music side of it. That's where the circus music comes from. Thank you, Julius Fučík. A little bit about the history of the circus. So I didn't realise that it was actually sort of fairly recently and in London that what we think of now as the circus was invented. It was this chap, Philip and Patty, who were husband and wife. Philip and Patty Astley, who were expert horse riders. Again, he had been in the military. So in 1768, they opened a riding school in London. It was really near Waterloo Station, if you know London. And Philip would do his teaching in the morning, And then he would do his amazing horse riding tricks in the afternoon to draw the crowds. And they both did amazing tricks. So Philip had this show called The Tailor of Brentford, which was sort of like clowning. Clowns have been around for quite a long time, sort of came over from Italy with the Commedia dell'arte theatre that they had there. But he would sort of do clowning tricks on horseback. So it's like really funny show where he would sort of go on like a comedy horse journey. And his wife, Patty, used to go really fast around a ring on a horse with a swarm of bees apparently over her hands, like she was wearing a little muff from the olden days made out of bees. So anyway, this show was incredibly popular, in the end much more popular than the teaching that he was doing. So they brought in loads of different acts to kind of pad out the show so that they didn't have to do horse riding all the time. There'd be like some acrobats and then some clowns or whatever coming in. So this was the birth of the circus. So only in the middle of the 1700s, not actually that long ago. And apparently it was Philip who had the idea of making the circus ring the size that it is now. And it was because it was pretty much the smallest circle you could possibly get that a horse could canter around in safely. So let's do our little activities, and then that's the history then. And then, he got some competition. So a lot of people think that circuses started in the Roman times. The Romans did have circuses, but they weren't the circuses that we're talking about when we say circuses. But circus is a Roman word, which basically just means circle. So Piccadilly Circus, which is in London, knocking them all off here. Piccadilly Circus is called that because there used to be a man living there who made piccadills, which were amazing fancy ruffs. And the circus is just because like a circus is a bit of town, basically an intersection. It's a circle, so that's why it's called Piccadilly Circus. It's not because of clowns and lions, it's because of, it's a circle. So it's the Roman meaning of the word circus. Right, let's talk about forces. And then maybe while we're talking about forces, I'll get on to the flea circus. Okay, so I kept reading that the reason it was really good to have horses running in a circle was not only because obviously then everybody can see, but because of this thing called centrifugal force. So there's this big, sort of always a big argument among physics teachers like me about centrifugal force and centripetal force. So centripetal force is the force that pulls things in towards the centre of a circle. So if you've got anything, I've just got like a jumper here that I'm just going to turn around in a circle. To make something go round in a circle, you have to apply a force that kind of pulls it inwards. Like to make this jumper turn round in a circle, I'm not pushing it outwards, right? I'm kind of pulling it constantly inwards. And that's what happens with, say, the moon going round Earth. The moon is going round Earth because of this force of attraction going towards Earth, right? Earth's got gravity, so Earth is like pulling the moon towards it. So the moon's going around the Earth because it's kind of constantly falling towards the Earth, but it's missing. But it's definitely going around Earth because of this centripetal force being pulled inwards. And a lot of science teachers say that centrifugal force is not a real force. Now, imagine it if you're in a car, right? Imagine you're in a car travelling straight forwards. If the car turns a corner, say the car's going quite fast and then it turns a corner, what happens to your body? What do you feel, right? You're in the car, I'm going to do it with my hands. The car turns a corner, you get sort of pushed outwards, don't you? You feel like you're getting pushed outwards. So you feel like, well, when things turn a corner, there is this force pushing them outwards. So why do some teachers say that it doesn't exist? Well, if you've got a marble and a glass, then we can do it now. Because this was a good way of staying on the horse, right? Philip would stand, you could stand on a horse, and so if you were cantering around in a circle at a bit of an angle, the centrifugal force pushing him outwards would sort of push him harder onto the horse, and that made the trick easier. But what is centrifugal force? Does it really exist? Well, if you trap a marble with a glass, I'm so sorry about the noise of this, by the way. I should have got a different marble. I'll just, if you spin it around like that, I won't keep doing it. But get a marble spinning in a glass quite slowly and then lift the glass up and see what happens. I'll do it with you. So lift it up. What happens? Did you see that? I'm going to do it again. Observe where the marble goes. Look, so it's spinning off in a straight line. Why? What's making it decide which way to go? Ah, it's quite good, isn't it? What's happening is, it's just, well, when things move in a circle, I guess, what's actually happening is that the marble is trying to travel in a straight line, but it's hitting the glass. So then it's trying to travel in another straight line, but it's hitting the glass again, and the glass is constantly pushing it inwards. So if you imagine traveling in a circle as being a series of little straight lines, when you lift the glass up, the marble just carries on in a straight line, like it wanted to do in the first place. And this is basically what centrifugal, this maybe made up force is. When you're in a car traveling quite fast, when the car turns, it's just that your body hasn't quite caught up. Your body still wants to travel in a straight line, but now the car is pushing on you. So it's not actually the car pushing on you, it's you traveling in a straight line, if you see what I mean. That's what that force that you're feeling is. It's the car pushing into you, but it's not like it doesn't exist, but it all depends on your point of view. This is what Einstein said, is that it depends on your point of view. Somebody, if you watch a child on a roundabout going round and round and round, that child is feeling like they're being pushed outwards all the time. Like, they're not wrong, they are feeling that force. And like clothes in a washing machine feel that as well. So it's not just a human thing, but someone stood watching the washing machine or watching the roundabout can tell there's not actually anything pushing them outwards. It's just they want to go in a straight line, but the roundabout keeps stopping them. It doesn't matter if you haven't really understood all that, but you might, as you go along your science journey, find people arguing about centripetal and centrifugal forces. Neither of them are really wrong. It just depends on your point of view. Okay, let's just have a look at some photos of animals in circuses. Animals are now in the UK, well, wild animals in the UK are banned in circuses. So animals that you can't domesticate, you can't have in circuses in the UK anymore because laws. So like lions and tigers and elephants, you can't have those in a circus in the UK. You can elsewhere. You are allowed to have domesticated animals. So things like, you know, cats. If you wanted a cat in a circus, you could. A small domesticated cat, or like a cow, or horses, you can. Not realistic, isn't it? Or what other animals are domesticated? Like pigeons. You could use those in a circus, but actually audiences, and I think this is fantastic, have just sort of gone off the idea, really. I can possibly see why if we look at some of these photos. So I'm not going to show you anything like really graphic, but I thought it was interesting to look. I mean, it's not that long ago, is it? 1964. I remember going to the circus as a child, and there being elephants at the circus. So this is the famous Barnum and Bailey circus. And here's a horse being made to stand up very, very straight with some decoration on its head. Here's a lot of horses standing on each other's backs. It doesn't look like a nice thing to do, is it? I'm assuming like the big whip isn't a good sign. I, for one, am very happy. I mean, it might be really sad looking at these photos, but actually it does make me really happy that we don't do this to animals anymore, at least in the country where I'm living. Here's some elephants coming into town, so it was a really good opportunity for circuses to advertise themselves by coming into town, obviously. So here we've got some elephants in, I think this is the 60s. Look at the cars walking down the street advertising the circus. Here's a photo that I like more. This is some acrobats from Barnum Circus in the 60s. Look at how they're dressed. Isn't this brilliant? I don't know how you get a crease on your trousers that smart while you're doing that. So these two chaps are dressed identically in very smart shirts and very nicely creased trousers. And one of them has got like a little bit of sort of metal chain in his mouth, and the other guy is just hanging off that metal chain. I love it. These days it's all kind of, it's all skin tight, like spangly stuff, isn't it? But something very cool about that. And here's some people just stood on top of each other on a ball, because of course, why not? It's a circus. And it's not a very good photo, but it's 1894. This is a circus coming to town in America. I think this is Ohio. It's just interesting, isn't it? Right, do you want to hear about flea circuses? So, the flea circus, if you love Jurassic Park as much as I do, they mentioned flea circuses in the film Jurassic Park. I tell you what, let's do the second activity, which some of you might have brought some things to do with me along, just to demonstrate forces again, while I tell you about the flea circus. So to do this second activity, you've got to get a balloon, which will be reusable after, and you've got to put a coin inside the balloon. I had a terrible time with this on Facebook yesterday, but if you've got a balloon with you, just get a balloon and put a coin inside it. I've learned my lesson. I'm using a tiny little 5p because it's easier to do. But put a coin inside a balloon, really, while I tell you about the flea circus. In the flea circus, in Jurassic Park, John Hammond, that who runs Jurassic Park, who's talking about how his flea circus was just teeny tiny little circus, like a tiny trapeze or whatever, or tiny little model horse going around, and it was just machinery, like it was it wasn't, but often this was actually what they would do in the olden times. They would build a tiny little mechanical circus and release fleas into the tank, so it sort of created the illusion that the fleas were moving the stuff. That's what I thought a flea circus was. It turns out flea circus has actually started with real fleas. This is really sad. It was I think it was like a metal worker, someone who made stuff out of metal, like a locksmith, who wanted to show that he was incredibly good at his job. So he made a tiny little chain and a tiny little lock and attached it to a flea. Fleas only live for like a few months, and it's just awful. And so the original flea circuses, they'd have like teeny tiny little gold like chains and kind of lassos and harnesses that they would actually attach to real fleas. I mean, fleas aren't my favourite animal, but it's just awful, isn't it? And then would make them, like, attach them to a ball, and they'd have to kick the little ball. That's my favourite podcast, the Silly History Boys keep saying. History people are awful. Very glad that flea circuses don't exist anymore. Right, but we've done forces as well, haven't we? So if you have managed to get a coin into a balloon, for that activity, what you do is you blow up the balloon. Low blood pressure. Every time. And you don't have to tighten a knot if you don't want to, if you like to reuse balloons. But just spin the balloon, and you should find that the coin spins inside the balloon in a very pleasing way. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? But you can stop moving the balloon, and the coin keeps spinning and spinning. Isn't that nice? It's being held up against the wall. So which I guess is centrifugal force, isn't it? Because it's trying to move in a straight line, but it can't. So we would say the balloon's pushing on the coin. There we go. This is nice. Right. Well, I'm a clown. Lara, you're thinking, circuses are brilliant. How can I get a job in a circus? Well, there's a few different ways. There are circus jobs available. I had a little look online and thought I'll see, like, you know, what you do if you want to get a job as an acrobat. So Disneyland are always advertising for acrobats, it seems. They need circus performers. Disneyland Paris here. On this website, on this website Stage Pool. This is from 2017, so I'm sorry, I think it's probably closed by now. But yeah, they were looking for male and female acrobats, and they specified the heights. And these are the skills that you had to have. You had to be good at physical stunt acrobatics and stage fights. You had to have parkour skills. That's probably a great way to start off, isn't it, with acrobatics? It's just learning how to do parkour, just basically running in a circle and jumping over anything that gets in your way. You got to be good at dance and acrobatic skills. As an actor, I was a bit sad about this. Acting skills are a bonus, not essential for being an acrobat. But strong stage performance is required. And you have to be very physically fit and have a great team spirit. And there you go. Yes, I'm afraid it's closed now. But if you would like to become an acrobat, you can do a degree. The National Centre for Circus Arts in London are offering proper degrees in circus skills. So there you go. That's one way of doing it. Or another way that a lot of people end up being in the circus is because they come from a circus family. So there's a lot of very famous circus families, people who, you know, maybe their mum and dad or their parents were circus performers, and then their kids ended up being circus performers, and then they had kids that ended up being circus performers. So here's a very famous circus family. They are called the Flying Wallenders. The Flying Wallenders. So they've been a circus family since the late 1700s. Just amazing that for that long their children have been choosing to work in the circus. The Flying Wallenders are very famous because they used to have a human pyramid made out of 7 members of the family, which was very popular. And then it's really awful accident. The pyramid collapsed and 2 of them died, and 1 of them was really injured. So what did they do? What did the family do after that horrific tragedy? They just carried on performing, put in 3 more family members and broke the world record for a human pyramid with 10 people in it. Circus families, isn't it? So you would think it would be incredibly unlikely for someone to have a child that also wanted to work in the circus, and then this to go on from the 1700s. But apparently, one of the things is obviously being in the circus is really hard. It's a lot of hard work. So if you want to see your parents, apparently a good way of spending time with them is to also be in the circus act with them. Another thing is obviously the people who work in the circus are always moving around from place to place and place to place. So the people they were most likely to meet were other circus performers that fall in love with and have their family with. So yeah, there's a lot of very famous circus families. The Paulo Circus that I just went to in York. I'm not sure how long that's been going on for, but definitely his great granddad was in the circus. Started the circus. Right, it's time for Lego Story Show, isn't it? We've done the families. It's time for me to completely ruin some of your favourite film. Sorry. Oh, here we go. Excuse me. For the Circus Lego Story, I'm going to tell you about the famous P.T. Barnum. Oh no, Lara, I already know all about P.T. Barnum because I've seen the film The Greatest Showman, which tells the story of his life. If that's what you're saying, well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is, I'm afraid I haven't actually seen the film, but I'm sure it's wonderful. You are right to love it, probably, but it is a story with lots of made-up bits. There are still a lot of things I can tell you about Barnum. So this is the film poster of Barnum with Hugh Jackman in it there, looking very glamorous. This is the actual P.T. Barnum. There's loads I can tell you about him that the film doesn't mention. That's the good news. The bad news is there are loads of things I can tell you about him that the film doesn't mention. Age 25, P.T. Barnum was living in New York City, and like a lot of young people, he tried doing a lot of different things to make money. He'd opened a shop, he'd sold books, he'd started up a newspaper and written a lot of things that weren't true about a lot of people and been arrested for that and been put in jail for 2 months. You know, just like the usual normal kids trying to earn a living stuff. He was sure that he'd be able to make loads of money if only he could get an exhibit, like something that people wanted to see. Now, if I said to you, try and think of something that you could show people and they would give you money, what would you think of? What do you show people so that they gave you money? What would it be? Maybe a cool piece of art. You could show them that and they could pay you to look at your art. Maybe some sort of awesome trick. You ready? You're probably not thinking a human, are you? A vulnerable human. That would be really weird and a little bit evil. In the 1800s, lots of people in Africa were still being kidnapped from their homes and forced to work for free. But in 1835, when Barnum was looking for an exhibit, it was illegal to enslave people in New York, where he was living. But that didn't put him off. He found a loophole and rented a person who had been kidnapped from her home. A lady who was blind and 80 years old. He forced her to work very, very long hours and told everyone that she was absolutely amazing because she was 160 years old. I have to say that actually, I know history people are terrible, but there are reports, even at the time, people were writing reviews saying, that is awful. Dude, that is really, I'm not going to give you money to see that. He did apologise later in his life in a speech for the way that he had treated enslaved people. We'll never know whether what he said was true, whether he was sorry or whether he was just saying what people wanted to hear, because he was very good at saying what people wanted to hear. In the 1960s, Barnum built a tank in the basement of his American museum and kept a whale in it. It had been taken from the sea in a place called Labrador and brought to the museum in a box of water, which probably cost him a lot of money to do, but the gas lighting wasn't very bright in the museum, and the whale just didn't ever come up except to take a breath. And people got very impatient, waiting for this whale, very angry. And Barnum reports this in his book. He says, I don't know how he spoke, but I'm imagining he said, "Some impatient persons, after waiting 10 minutes, which seemed to them an hour, would sometimes exclaim, 'Oh, humbug, I don't believe there is a whale here.'" At which point, Barnum says, he would often get out of patience and he would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, there is a living whale in the tank. I am sorry we can't make him dance a hornpipe and do all sorts of wonderful things at the word of command, but if you will exercise your patience a few minutes longer, I assure you the whale will be seen at considerably less trouble than it would be to go to Labrador expressly for that purpose." And this made everybody laugh. "Oh, yes, it would be harder to go to Labrador, wouldn't it? Ha ha ha. We'll wait for the whale." And then occasionally the whale would rise up and people would see it and everyone would be very impressed. Everyone except one woman who stormed in to Barnum's office after this show and said that that whale was clearly just a machine covered in rubber. She really complained at him, like, "You've shown me a whale and it's not real." What would you do in that situation? What do you think Barnum did? Did he laugh at her? Did he shout at her? Did he take her back to the whale and prove that she was wrong? No, he actually said, I love this, he said, "Oh, you're too sharp for me. Yeah, it's true. It's a fake whale. Please don't tell anyone. You're the only person who's noticed." I love that. And he said, he writes in his book, that it was worth more than $1 to see her satisfied smile when she found out she was right, and she promised him she wouldn't tell anyone. A born showman. Barnum wasn't about the truth. He wanted to make his customers feel good. He wanted to give his customers what they wanted. And this woman wanted to be right, so he made her right. Oh my days, Lara! You just told us that a whale got carried out of the sea and put in a box and kept in a basement. That is awful. Are you not going to give us any more information about that? Well, to be honest, there isn't really anything more to say. Whales don't like being kept in basements, and the whales didn't last long, but they did bring him lots and lots of great publicity and money, so he just kept replacing the whales and called his whales a great success. The Greatest Showman film also kind of makes up a character called Jenny Lind. She was a very, very famous singer living in Europe, and Barnum did write to her and say that he'd basically give her all his money if she would agree to perform with him, even though he'd never heard her sing. It was risks are what show business is about, I guess. She agreed. And Barnum spent 6 months in America, advertising her and whipping up the public to think that she was going to be amazing. And she arrived in America, and these green bits of paper are supposed to be lovely money falling from the sky, because it was an incredible success. Everyone agreed she was the greatest singer they'd ever heard. And they both made millions of pounds each in today's money. But unlike the film, Jenny Lind, she wasn't really a kind of bright red lipstick wearing temptress. She doesn't really seem to have been that bothered about her appearance at all. She was all about the singing, and she was also all about raising money for charities, and she wanted to open a school for children so that they could learn music. This is obviously her dressed in her best for her pictures, but she used to make jokes about how her nose looked like a potato. And I'm like, "Oh, Jenny, now you've said that, it kind of does look like an adorable little potato." Anyway, there is the real Jenny Lind for you to compare with the Jenny Lind from The Greatest Showman. Not the same person. They definitely didn't have any romantic interest between them, and actually she didn't like how heavily Barnum publicised the show, and she did end up leaving early, but just for that reason. Like Barnum, who stuck a monkey on a fish's tail and pretended it was a mermaid, the film The Greatest Showman gives audiences what they want, a good story. But can you know what you want if you don't know the truth? Well, now you know the truth, so you can decide. The end. Oops, that's just my wall. And it's me. That is the end of today's Lego Story Show, which was all about the circus. Thank you so much for joining me, you lot. I really enjoyed that one. Unusually, that wasn't a request from anyone. That was just because I'd been to the circus and I wanted to know more about the circus. Also, we can't just do an animal every single week, but I will get back to animals next week. We've got a lot of animals to cover. Ravens versus crows, and dolphins versus whales, and swallows versus swifts. It's all about the verses, I think, in the next few Lego Story shows. Right, I'm just going over to my Facebook page to see if any of you have said hello, because there's no comments on YouTube. But I always put up a Facebook post when I'm live on YouTube saying, if you want to say hello, then you can. You got any comments or questions? I know Chloe's got a circus competition coming up soon, so she might be here. Oh, hello, Bastian. Bastian's watching live. Hello. A little hat spin in celebration. That's great. Oh, nice to see it. Bastian, Bastian, can you see it? Oh, no, it's got a bit hidden away, hasn't it? Bastian, who made my awesome piece of recycled paper here. Put it on the edge. Hello, Bastian. Hello, Alma and Fausta, who I've met in real life. Hello, Aurelia. Aurelia slowed the circus song down so much and managed to march slowly too. Oh, did you? You've actually turned it back from a screamer into a marching band tune. Oh, that's good. Hello, Clea. A few minutes late as her mother seems incapable of finding the YouTube lives. This is spooky because we were just looking at semitones in music. Oh, I love it when that happens. Your outfit is amazing. Oh, thank you. Yeah, don't tell my daughter that this is what I did with her dress. She'll be really angry. Really angry. Hello, Imogen and Ophelia. Oh, and Edmund's back as well. This is nice. You're all having a science day, just like me. Right. Well, I'm going to go and start planning for next week. So thank you all very much for joining me. I don't think there's anyone new here, surely. But if you happen to be new and you're thinking, goodness, how does this person handle having a job and doing all this stuff for free? No, this is my job. It's so good. This is my job. I stream free science shows like this every week during term time, and free science lessons, and free IGCSE physics lessons, and they're all available on our website for free with the free printouts. But a lot of people are supporting me on this website called Coffee with £5 a month. It is an excellent time to sign up. If you go to my About section on YouTube and click the link to Coffee, or if you just type Coffee Theatre of Science into the internet, then you can support me with £5 a month and I will send you nice things. I will send you like a little welcome pack with some rainbow glasses in that make you see rainbows. They're amazing. And I'll send you an explanation of how they work. And I will send you a past copy of Theatre Science magazine. And now's a good time to sign up because the next issue of Theatre Science magazine is finished. It's going to take a long time for me to make the boxes and put the magazine in and put the other things in and put the stamps on and stuff. So supporters who've been waiting forever for it, I'm so sorry. I'll tell you when to get excited. But at least it is finished and out of my brain. So if you sign up now, you'll have a past magazine to keep you going. And then the next magazine will arrive after that. You'll be on the list for whenever I finish my Theatre Science magazine. So thank you so much, everyone who's supporting me. I couldn't do this without you, literally. I'd be working in a school. They'd tear me apart, wouldn't they, now, in a school? It's been too long. So yeah, I've got to stick with you guys. Oh, here we go. Someone did another comment. Wait, I'll just check. And then I will go. Chloe's here. Oh, Chloe is here. Chloe, best of luck with the circus competition. You've got to tell me how that goes. That is really cool. You want to go to the circus school in London? I know, right? It's not too late for you guys. It's too late for me. Right, yes, I'm going to go. Chloe, best of luck. I'll see you.